Hello guys. Today I interview Tori Hadley from Adventure Fitness Australia. Now Tori is an adventure coach, a guide and a real wealth of knowledge when it comes to preparing for mountain adventures. And today we dive into a little bit around her coaching philosophies, her ideas around training for adventure and a whole bunch more. So let's get into it. Hey, my name is Rowan Smith and I want to welcome you to the Training for Trekking podcast. Now this is the world's very first podcast which is entirely dedicated to helping you train, prepare and conquer your upcoming hike, trek or mountain adventure. So once a week I'm going to be giving you quality and practical information on the subjects of physical preparation for trekking, dealing with altitude and nutrition on the trail, so you can know everything you need to be doing to have the best chance of a safe, enjoyable and successful adventure. So now you know what you're in for. Let's get into today's episode. All right, so welcome, Tori. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Rowan.
I'm really excited to have you on board. It's been, as I was saying before we hopped on, I've heard a lot about you over the last year or so, and it's really great to finally be able to connect. And hopefully, a few of the listeners will be able to get a little bit of insight because there's not a huge amount of adventure coaches around, and everyone's got their different take on things. So this is going to be really great. So to start things off, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are in the world, your background in the world of trekking and adventure, and then what you actually do?
Okay, so I started off, let me see, I'm just trying to work out the time distance. So about 7 years ago, I came back from living over in Dubai for a couple of years, and I was heavily into CrossFit and triathlon. I've been doing triathlon for years, endurance sports basically suited me really well. And when I come back, I just wanted to do something really different, and I'd have qualifications in fitness and stuff from the past. And so when I got back, I just looked around for something coaching. I didn't really just want to work in a gym. So I was just looking for something with a little bit of a different spin to it. And I definitely didn't want to go back into triathlon. So I got back to Brisbane, which is where I'm located in Queensland in Australia. And there was a job with a company called Base Camp Training. And basically he started doing this. I think he was one of the first in Australia to do this. And that was Chase Tucker. And he needed some coaches, and I was one of the first coaches he's put on. And basically we train people mainly for trips like Base Camp, Everest, and that's how it all sort of started. And we just sort of evolved it from there. And then Chase went and lived in Spain, and now I run my own company doing the same thing.
Yeah, fantastic. And you're based up in Queensland?
Brisbane,
right?
yeah.
Brisbane,
that big mountainous town of Brisbane.
There you go.
The mountains on the flat.
I'm sure that actually expertise will be very valuable to a lot of people. That's one of the most common questions, isn't it? Like, how can I get ready for a mountain without any mountains? So I'm sure you get that a lot.
Do you know, I remember the first time I was standing in Nepal at 2,200 meters, which is Kosciuszko's height, right? And I was just standing there thinking, wow, looking up at 4,000, 6,000, 8,000 meter mountains, thinking, we have got no mountains. It's hills. We have hills.
Yeah, that's it. So with your training, do you have any particular philosophies that you believe when it comes to preparing hikers and different adventure athletes for their trips?
I really, truly believe that it's endurance and strength that gets you up mountains and long treks, right? So I do a lot of work with people in the gym on squatting and stepping ups and weighted step ups. We do a lot of strength work, but also endurance. So we will definitely get out and hike on. We've got a mountain not far from us in the city called Mount Cootha. We get up there, we hike up there with weighted packs. So if you've got a trip coming up, we'll really specify the training. If you want general fitness to just do hiking in normal life, we have general classes for fitness in that area, which is 70% lower, 30% upper, break it down if you want more. But basically, we're a really strong community, and that's what's we've all come together with different ideas and different trips and different things we want to train for. But as a community, we really support each other. So it just depends what people are training for, what we're doing, because I particularly like to specify it for individuals, because everybody's different. And we have a lot of older people that train for hiking and mountaineering. It's generally not people in their 20s. So there's a lot of things to take into account, their bodies, if they've got anything they need to work through, if they're weaker, really assessing individuals, So it's not a general question to answer, but depends on the person. Some people fit into the niche of the group. Some people need individual help. And, there's other people that are training for really hard technical mountains. They'll need a different kind of training again. So I just break it down with every person, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I definitely believe in as well. It's tough when you get these big blanket recommendations and you're like,
it doesn't
no, not at all. Going off that, actually, what's one thing do you think that you see a bit of in the hiking world or the mountaineering world, which is not really done very well when it comes to physical preparation?
That's really easy. I actually guide as well in Nepal. I go for a company called On Track, and I've also done some guiding in mountains with base camp. And I generally find people just don't have any idea how fit they need to be to do something like that, and what a difference it makes to be fit and strong when you hit a trek. Because if you don't, in my experience, you'll just have such a less enjoyable trip. And it's in a lot of ways physically, even just in the way you'll interact with the local people because you're too tired to hang out after your hike in the day. You'll end up going back to your bed. It truly changes your trip, whether you're fit enough or strong enough or whatever, specifically train for what you're going to do. So what was the question? But if that's what you're asking me?
Yeah, just what's not done very well.
So what's not done very well, I've been surprised at how many people turn up when I'm guiding a hike, and not generally the ones I train people for, but the ones that I turn up just to guide and I don't know the people. It amazes me how many turn up and they haven't done any training at all. They'll be like, I walked around the block a few times. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? You're hiking for 14 days nonstop, 6 hours a day, and you walked around the block. Okay, you're going to lose a lot of weight. You're going to sleep well and you're going to feel shit at night, but the trip will be great. It's genuine, I think.
Yeah, and you hear that a lot. And what do you say to the people?
No, I explain that. I always break it down. I'm not trying to be sexist in any way, but it's generally men that don't like to train as hard for the treks. Women will put it all in, generally speaking. But men will say, "Oh, I'll just walk up the mountain a couple of times. I'll be all right." And then I've had plenty of times where women have had their trips destroyed because the males will pull out halfway through. They'll be like, I can't do this. I'm getting a helicopter home. It's ruined just other people's trips as well. So generally if they say anything like, I'll be right, I'll say, okay, let's break that down. Let's break that down what your trip is every day and let's talk about how you experience that. So, just some realities help, but you really need to break it down, I think, because I don't think they realise that it's all day, it's backing it up every day,
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely agree with that, breakdown with the genders as well. I guess that even shows with the real popularity, at least in Australia, of the sort of the women's trek training groups. And it's such a popular form of exercise for a lot of women, but I'm never really sure there's bushwalking groups for men and that, but it's not really as a physical fitness.
There's so many women's groups now, isn't there? So many. Even my group, we'll have a lot of males that train with me, but I definitely have more females than males, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. If you come into that attitude, say you were not even on the mountain and it was just someone you're saying what you did for a job and someone says like, oh, why would I need to train for something like that? What's your response when it comes to that before you're even on the mountain?
Before you're on the mountain, I'll give you examples. I have a lot of couples that come to me because they've got doing a trip together, and the females be like, I want to be as strong and as fit as I possibly can for this and be ready to go. And I think that's the best attitude you can have, because as I said before, it'll make your trip so much more pleasant in the big picture, So generally, I often get men or different people that don't want to train hard as each other to do different things. So I'll often send off the guys with, trying to make something that they're going to enjoy. So I'll say, well, get a mate and go for a hike for 2Ks up there and see how that goes. Whereas women are generally, or people that are dedicated, I'll usually find every single program I'll put down and whatever, they'll do every single part of it. So a lot of times making people accountable too. I think that works really well too for people that really want to be lazy. So I might get them to wear a watch and I'll look at the feeds on their watch and I'll be sad to say, hey, look, your heart rate was ridiculous. You're walking backwards, So you can make them accountable in some ways where, I can check on them and make sure they're doing stuff if I'm not with them. But that's another way.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there anything else that you think, just as a general, in a general sense, that's not really done enough of in the hiking community?
I think people are a little bit unsure about gyms. I think people just like to go out in the mountain and climb with a bit of weight, but cannot tell you how much something like if you're climbing or anything technical, if you're doing an actually big mountain above 4,000, how much strength really is about strength, walking up hills on an angle like that with snow and putting your boots into them one after the other, carrying the altitude blanket as well. Strength is so important, and a lot of people definitely miss out on the strength. I definitely feel like there could be a lot more of that done, definitely.
And then what are some of your go-to exercises with strength that you think maybe every hiker should be a part of?
A squat, a weighted step-up, progressively increasing weighted step-ups over time with endurance, like the amount, the volume, and the weight. Also outdoor, the same sort of thing. So putting a weighted pack back on your back and getting on certain hills and trying to improve time. So but some people I train for ultras, for example. If you break down an ultra race and you've got a time cutoff, you're often doing stuff like 5 or 6 minute Ks over those big ultras. It's hard, and you're carrying your own gear. So when you're breaking stuff like that down, you need to have the reality of what people have got to do and really make sure that they're ready for it on that day. So if that's a 86k kilometre ultra over 2 days, then let's break it down how fast you have to be, and then just literally look at how they need to improve it over time, like really specifying. I don't want people to turn up unprepared and going, Jesus, I just trained for 6 months and I'm nowhere near ready. I want them to get to a trip with being so fit that they go, I'm not even thinking about my fitness or health. I am good. This is the trip now. You know what I mean? I don't want it to be an equation in their thoughts. So I really do try to make people fitter than they need to be so their trip is really enjoyable.
Yeah. And I think that's actually a pretty common thought process, I think, for most adventure coaches, and particular ones I've had on the show, is exactly that. We want to make people fitter than they actually need to be. So they don't just survive, but they actually just have a good time,
Absolutely.
Is there any particular exercises or activities that might be a little bit left of center and something that someone might not first have thought about, which you
Yeah, absolutely. I do a lot of body strength work, like resistant band work, cable work, because I really believe carrying backpacks and walking on angles means your body core. When I talk about core, and I'm sure as a coach you've heard this a million times, but to me core is shoulder to thigh, right? So really the whole back and front part of your body, your trunk, everything. And I don't think people work enough on the fitness and strength in that area, because I definitely notice a difference when you're carrying, sorry, that's my dog. So definitely notice the difference when you're carrying a backpack over days, how people will start, leaning forward and really cutting off their oxygen and just not being strong in that core that keeps them strong and pulled back. That makes a difference. The amount of oxygen coming into the body, the way you feel when you're standing back and strong, all that sort of stuff. So I do work very hard on people's core and body and back strength. But yeah, just really specific sort of strength for holding your body and trunk up. I think that's a little bit lacked in our area for sure.
Absolutely. And this is a completely just different tack of question, but it's got something I got asked yesterday by someone, and I'd love to get your opinion. What would be your perfect lunch on a 12-hour day of hiking?
It depends what country I'm in.
Yeah, fair.
If you're in Nepal, generally that's where I've done a lot of my hiking, big hiking. What do we have in Nepal for lunch? Probably like a veggie burger. Because obviously you don't want to eat meat when you're in the mountains because refrigeration is generally pretty bad. I generally tell people on most general long hikes go vegetarian, because if they get sick, they generally get sick from meat, like a refrigeration. Excuse me, I'm picking up a tennis ball to chuck out for my dog so it goes wrong. So anyway, yeah, so I guess veggie burgers or something that's, if it's local mountains here, I generally take wraps, fruit, nuts, that sort of stuff, easy to eat.
Yeah, fair. No, that's veggie burgers a bit different. I hadn't thought about that before.
Well, that's in Nepal where someone's cooking it for you.
Yeah, yeah, fair. And then obviously everyone's been, the time of recording, everyone's been stuck at home for a little while and people haven't really been going on their trips and everything. But you, as the company, as a business, just watching from the outside, from the Instagram, you've been doing quite well keeping everyone sort of very, very engaged with their training, at least your community, and keeping everyone pumped up about the end goal and just making sure people are doing things. Do you mind exploring a little bit about what you've been doing as a community to help people stay motivated to exercise?
For sure. And I guess, Lauren, I'll have to touch on the fact that part of training with my company is that you are part of a very big, strong community. So when people join us and they come and train with us, that's part of the thing that I talk to them about. Okay, when you come and train with Adventure Fitness, you're going to have a community that will say, okay, next Friday, we're all going to climb Mount Tibbo. Who wants to come? So it's really quite an interactive community. And then no one will be leaving you sitting on a bench, not saying anything to you. They'll be like, why didn't you turn up? I thought you were coming. It's a really quite a good community and supporting each other in that way. Any adventure anyone's doing. So that really helps. Having people, calling each other at training and say, oh, how was your session? Or you want to go and do a walk together. I've been trying to keep people together in that way. So over this really corona weird virus time, a lot of my clients will just been pairing off together and training together. They live near each other. They can keep their social distance. So we're doing a lot of online training like that. But as of last week, Queensland's let us do group training again, which restarted this week, where our gym's open in 2 weeks. So I have started group classes again this week. But really most of the work in keeping the community together and making sure people are doing stuff is more the socialising side of it, checking in with people, doing one or so session a week with someone one-on-one, and then giving them other sessions to do with with people, so they're interacting. So keeping the community alive has been the thing that's done it more than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And it's such a tricky thing when you can't have that hub of the gym to keep everyone together, or that hub of the hike. So it's been
absolutely,
it's
and
been
the
great.
energy you get from that group stuff is really amazing, you know. But yeah, it's hard one-on-one. And also, to be perfectly honest, I feel like the quality of service I'm giving is not as good at the moment. So, you know, it's hard to rev people up, you know, and you're like, just do another squat. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
much different than saying, okay, we're working on your this today, and let's all do, you know, it's just very different.
Yeah, fair. And then once the world does get a little bit more back to normal, what's the next adventure for you personally?
I was supposed to be taking a trip in October to Mira. I was guiding that to on track, but obviously that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, every single trip my clients are on has been cancelled, every single one of them. So we actually really have no idea, to tell the truth. So what we've been doing now is looking at all the local hikes that are big that we can do. So in Queensland, they're saying we can't open this state now until September. So now we're looking at a place like there's a 5-day hike you can do at Carnarvon Gorge, which is amazing. So we really are trying to look now, what can we do that's local that'll keep us involved in this sort of stuff? You know, we already do all the local hikes as it is. It's once a month we come in and we go on big hikes, right? And so, yeah, now we're looking for some different stuff that's, you know, still drivable within the legal limits and, you know, like stuff like that, but still keeping us connected to what we want to do, because all of our trips will be obviously a year or a year and a half, maybe 2 years away now. So.
Yeah. And then what would you say for, you know, people are pretty soon probably going to be coming into their first big hike in a while? Like, it might not be an international trip, but it's probably going to be a local trip. And they probably, most people I would say, have been amazing with their training over this time. What do you think something from now until whenever things open up that every single hiker should do before they actually get on a long hike?
Step ups.
Yeah.
Sorry to say, I know they're boring, and most clients talk about them being boring when they train them, but every single person that's come back from a trip has said to me, I get the hike, I get the step ups, I get the way to step ups. They always say that, right? Because it makes sense when you get back retrospectively. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such an easy thing for anyone listening to apply.
Anyone can do that. You know, if you don't have a box, you have a chair. You can do it anywhere.
Exactly. I was getting roasted by a few people the other day in my little Facebook group, which I put a video of me doing it on my couch. My way to pack, and I was doing up and down there. And they weren't impressed that I was going to break the furniture up. And I was like, you know what? I got to do what I got to do.
The instability of the step. That's kind of a good idea.
So before we wrap things up today, is there anything else you want to like to add? Anything you haven't covered today you think might be valuable sharing with a hiker?
I guess because I do a lot of work with women, I wouldn't mind adding a couple of little things about women, if that's okay. And one of the things I did think about when I was thinking about this podcast is it's really important it amazes me how many times men will come in and they'll go, I'm going to climb Amadablam. It's an amazing mountain. It's hard. I'm going to train for it. And they do it, and they do it really well. Awesome, right? Women will always underestimate and undervalue what they can do, and they'll start off with something that's always way under their skill. And then they'll slowly build up, which is a really great way to get into mountaineering and big hiking and stuff like that. But I always feel that women underjudge what they can do. You know what I mean? It's a long process for them, because they'll always undervalue or judge what they're really capable of. And it's a slower process for women. I'd love to see more women have more aspirations, because mountaineering and hiking is for women and men equally. We're equal in this. You know, we can all do the same things. But I'm sorry about my dog. I feel that women should look at things and be braver about their choices in this area for sure. You know, just do some crazy shit. Go hard. Go big. You know, like it's all doable if you've trained and you've got the skills, you've learned the skills you need to do. Nothing's scary if you've done this training properly for it. Like, a lot of people talk to me about me being 52 and doing all this crazy stuff. How come you're so brave? I'm brave because I've trained right, I've got the right skills, and I'm going in with the right headspace. You know, so that's not scary then. Nothing's scary when you go with the right preparation. So, yeah, it's an area that I think that women could think about a bit more, but being braver about their choices.
Yeah, absolutely. Building off that, if there's sort of a woman or a man or anyone leading up who's sort of been doing, they're pretty happy doing treks. So they've been doing a number of treks and they're pretty good. They've ticked off quite a few things. They're feeling good, but they're sort of hesitant to step up to that first mountaineering adventure. What are those skills or those basic things that they need to sort of learn before they get into the next step?
Well, usually generally for me, I would talk to people about the mountain they want to do, and then we break it backwards down. So generally it's usually they know the mountain or they've got an idea of the mountain they want. But if they don't and they're going the other way, which I do have a couple of people that have just like done a little bit and they want to do something else, they do want something else. So there's a girl I know at the moment I train that she's gone from doing the Mont Blanc circuit hiking last year, pretty easy trek really. Now she wants to do something pretty hard in India. So we've literally just broke that down. We've just looked at exactly what the trip has asked for, and she has to do definitely some climbing to do that. She needs to be a bit more familiar with going up walls rather than just on a little bit of an angle. So she'll go and spend time in a climbing gym once they reopen. And, just stuff like that. So that sort of stuff is what we'll do. We'll just really break down the mountain or the choice that you're doing and the skills that you need. They're all attainable skills in our country. We've got so much adventure in this country, right? There's so many great companies that will give you skills that you need. And plus, we've got New Zealand, if we really know it as well. New Zealand's got some great mountaineering skill-based courses that you can do. That Ice and Mix Climbing Festival, we generally go to every year in New Zealand in August. It's called the Ice Mix Climbing Festival because all the best climbers in New Zealand come back and teach courses to people for like $200. It's incredible. So there's little ways you can try out things if you wanted to, or do the bigger courses that they do over there for like we can learn whatever you need to learn. Ice climbing, avalanche, MDU in Australia, which is just obviously you must be a part of now, which is Mountaineers Down Under. They're starting to do little courses like avalanche courses. Skill up. Generally, you don't use those things. I've got a lot of those courses under my belt, but generally have not used any of them. But it's just really good to refresh yourself continuously, and have those little things in your head. But I don't think you can really go past being in the mountains. Like that's where you're going to learn the most stuff.
Yeah,
and use it.
Absolutely. And I think that's I'm so glad you brought that up because I know, there are a lot of people who are just not 100% sure about taking it up to the next level and they might undersell themselves and they still have these amazing adventures, but they always put a limit on their potential. So it is definitely doable. You just got to, do the right things and believe in yourself and go work through the process, I guess. And
maybe surround yourself with people that are doing that sort of stuff as well. That definitely helps and motivates you and inspires you. I know all people in my groups will inspire each other to do other things. You see it all the time. And, because around people that like to do the things they do really helps that, because a lot of people do this sort of thing. Like we in our bubble, they do, Rowan, but really, people, when I tell people I train people in mountains and I, guide overseas, they're like, you what? Like it's generally a really crazy thing, right? But, it's surround yourself with like-minded people and they'll encourage you to do more for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The classic example of that is a couple named Trevor and Emma who were on the show way, way, way back. And I used to train them back when I first started training in for trekkers and mountaineers in one of the altitude gyms. And I didn't train them directly, but they were there. They were getting into their aspirations. And after a little while, they transitioned to another gym, which is a local gym here called Joe's Base Camp, run by Joe Bonington, who's a legend in the space. And just the difference between training in a gym where they kind of were with different adventurers to training in a gym where it was completely for adventurers and getting that community and bouncing off everyone. Like it's just been really cool to see like their journey on that and like them bouncing off everyone. So definitely see how powerful that is, just surrounding yourself with the right people.
Definitely true. I tell you one thing about males too, because I've gone on a bit about females, but I tell you I see works really well for males in this area is mentors. Finding someone that's better than you and start climbing with them or hiking with them or whatever you're going to do. Mentors tend to work really well for everybody, but I think it really works really well for males as well. Someone that's already done something you've done, and just everyone in my group would be happy for anyone to join anything. So it's not hard. It's only scary when you first time you do it, right? So your first time you're joining that group or the first time you're doing whatever you're doing is scary. So every single person in my group's been in that position, a beginner, and so don't let it stop you. Don't leave that the thing that's stopping you, right? Maybe, I don't know, old bodies, that's generally the thing that I see. Definitely, a lot of people older do hike and climb and mountaineer for sure. So, but it's generally don't let anything stop you. I'm 52, nothing stops me and it's not going to. People say, how does your body keep going? I say, because I don't let it stop. I don't let it tell me it can't do anything, just keep moving.
Oh, perfect. Like, couldn't agree more. Not that I'm up there yet, but like I see it all the time. And
when are we going to get you to Nepal, Rowan?
Well, eventually. I was chatting with Lummy about that last year. Well, earlier in the year before everything happened, and we were like, maybe Mira Peak might have been a go, but
Mira Peak is the biggest mountain in Nepal that you can trek.
Yeah.
but it's not technical, and it's
Yeah.
6,400 meters. Awesome.
Soon.
Good.
So,
leave the country.
yeah, well, that's it. So before we wrap everything up, if people did want to get in contact with you, whether they were up in Queensland or interested in some of your online training, or even work with you at all, how could they find you? How could they reach out to you? How do they go about that?
I train a lot of people overseas as well. It's generally just my company's called Adventure Fitness Australia, based in Brisbane. You just need to Google that. I'll be on Facebook. I'm on all the social medias, and I'm really open to anybody ringing me and asking me about anything they want to do in this area. I'm not going to charge you. Just talk about it. Let's have a good chat about it. And if you're in Sydney and you want to train, you're in Sydney, aren't you, Ron?
I am.
Yep. But I'll send you to Rowan if you're a Sydney person, right? Because there's enough people out there for all of us, but let's get everybody trained properly.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. So what I'll do is I will leave a few links in the show notes for everyone who's listening. So if you want to check it out, you can scroll down the page and find find all the info there. But thank you so much for coming on, Tori. This has been amazing. Finally able to connect. You've shared some definitely great wisdom around a few particular topics, and I feel like a lot of people are going to get some really great value out of this. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Rowan. Have a really great weekend.
You've been listening to the Training for Trekking podcast. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, rate and review us in iTunes. So thanks for getting involved, and we'll see you on the next one.